Hey X-fans, it's Riley, and I'm back with another episode of my X-Men Readathon. So last time we left off, I had wrapped up the second X-Men Omnibus with all the Neil Adams material at the end. So after that, I went into the material that happened during the hiatus between that and when they came back with the Chris Claremont run and Len Wein's Giant Size X-Men #1. So the bulk of that material is, like, by the bulk I mean the most important material. There's two big parts. There's the first thing is issues 11 through 17 of Amazing Adventure, which are a story about the Beast, and that shows us where Hank McCoy leaves the X-Men and then he undergoes the experiment towards himself that turns him into the furry version of the Beast that we know now. The second part that's really big is issues 181 through 180 through 181 of The Incredible Hulk, and that's where Len Wein introduces the character that we know and love today as Wolverine. Aside from those things, there's a lot of other material. There's a few issues of different titles like Defenders and Avengers, several issues of Captain America, and then there was a few more issues of the Hulk in there as well. And basically these issues just had various characters from the X-Men appearing. You saw the various members of the team going out there and interacting with different people. In Captain America, you saw Professor X and the members of the X-Men, as well as the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The Defenders saw the Defenders go up against Magneto and his Brotherhood, and Magneto introduces a new mutant that he created kind of inorganically, named Alpha, who I believe comes in later on in the comics. I just don't remember exactly where. There's an issue of the Hulk where you see Havoc and Polaris interacting with the Hulk. So yeah, there's a bunch of different material where they're just interacting with the different mutants out in the Marvel Universe. And it's really interesting to note all this stuff because it's different creators who didn't really have runs on the X-Men. Like, a lot of stuff is by Steve Englehart. Englehart didn't do anything with the X-Men, so it's interesting to see him working on these characters. Most of it being, the bulk of which I said was the Beast material, which is what I really want to talk about because that stuff's the most enjoyable of everything that I had read was from that Beast material. So the first issue is actually written by Jerry Conway, who introduces us to this furry Beast. So when the Beast first turns into this, hairy version of himself, he's all gray, not the blue version that we know now. He undergoes this transformation as a way to hide himself. Something happens in the lab that he's working at, and he decides that he needs to disguise himself, and this disguise that he comes up with is he takes mutant hormones because he's like, well, what does a mutant hormone do to someone who's already mutant? Because he had isolated basically the genes that give mutants their abilities, and so he takes that gene, and he's already a mutant, so it mutates him even further. So he turns into that hairy version of himself. He's more bestial. He can't stand upright. He's got fangs, claws, and all that good stuff. And he goes out and has his own adventures like that. He says that if he takes an antidote within a certain amount of time, that he can transform back into the humanoid version of himself that we know. But unfortunately, he misses that time frame and is stuck in his gray furry form. So the series goes forward, and it's written by Steve Englehart rather than Jerry Conway, and we see the Beast create like a latex mask for himself and latex gloves to hide the fact that he's not humanoid anymore, and he goes out and has dates with women. He goes out into the world and does his own thing, and when he needs to, he turns himself back into, or he takes that off and becomes the Beast again. He also has a harness that he tightens to help his back straighten out so it looks like he's standing upright, when without that he actually hunches over and is not able to stand upright. So there's a bunch of adventures with him there. We see him go up against against the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, who kind of wipe his mind and make him believe that he himself is an evil mutant, but he breaks out of that and remembers who he is, and then the Brotherhood realizes that not only does he share the name with the Beast that was a member of the X-Men, but he actually is that Beast. Later he goes up against the character Quasimodo, who tries to steal his power from him to, I believe it was to make, because Quasimodo is like a android, and if he can take the Beast's power, it's like he can make himself more human or something like that. I don't remember entirely, but what winds up happening is that the Beast, this whole time as the gray, furry version of himself, he has this really increased healing factor that's like comparable, if not better, than Wolverine's, the point that like not even a mark is made when he's shot. And so Quasimodo takes his power and takes away that healing factor, but when the Beast gains his power back, he's weaker, he's not quite as strong, and he doesn't have that super enhanced healing factor. He still has a little bit of a healing factor, just not as powerful as it was, and his fur transforms from being gray into being black. Now at that time, black means blue to us because they gave blue highlights to anything that was black, and so eventually we just come to consider him as having blue fur instead of having black fur. So that kind of wraps up what's going on with the Beast, and we see him appear here and there, and eventually he joins different teams. He joins the Avengers and he joins the Defenders, but he actually doesn't rejoin the X-Men until way down the line. I believe not until the Claremont and Lee material that comes towards the end of Claremont's run. The other important material that I listed was the Wolverine first appearance in the issues of Incredible Hulk. Basically, the Incredible Hulk is in the Canadian wilderness fighting against the Wendigo, and the Wolverine pops out of nowhere and kind of makes himself part of this whole battle, and the Hulk decides that, you know, this little guy can't be too bad because he's fighting against the Hulk's enemy. So they kind of team up with each other. So there's a little bit of a clash, and they wind up teaming up with each other to face the Wendigo. But in the end, Hulk winds up just kind of beating up on Wolverine, and Wolverine runs away and Hulk goes along his way. So as far as I can tell, you don't really see the Wolverine again until he joins up with the X-Men in Giant Size #1. And that takes us to where we are now. So I took a little bit of a break from X-Men proper to read all this stuff, and I'm starting up again on the 1st of April is where I'm going to be reading from the Chris Claremont run. So I'm going to be continuing along in Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 1. Now, I've already read about half of the material in here, but this starts with issue 94 of the X-Men and goes through 131. I've read, I think, about 18 issues of this already. I'll go ahead and reread that, though, just so I can get a refresher in my head. But yeah, as of today, it's the 30th of March, so on the 1st of April, I'm starting up with this again, and if I calculated it correctly, I should reach the end of the Claremont run before the end of this year, 2015. So I'm super excited to finally be starting on the Claremont stuff. I know you guys are excited for me to get there too, because this is where things really start getting great, and we're going to see a lot of interesting stuff happening. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed another episode of my X-Men Readathon. If you guys are reading along with me, if you guys happen to read the stuff in between that I was reading, go ahead and sound off, or if you already are familiar with that material, sound off below in the comments, and let me know what you thought about some of those in-between stories from the hiatus years of the X-Men. Let me know what you thought about my video, about my, what I've talked about. If you have any negatives, please point those out. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out the website, www.theomnibuscollector.tumblr.com, where I answer all kinds of questions that you guys might have for me. And check out the other site, www.collectedcomicslibrary.com, where I inform you guys on important stuff like upcoming collections. I talk about leaked solicitations on Amazon. Most recently, I did a huge breakdown of DC's fall 2015 solicitations. So check out both of those sites, and thanks again so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.